Three, two, one, ghost. Hey, Natalie, how are you?
Hi, Kyle. So good. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Hey, audience, welcome to 321 Ghost. I'm your host with a silent G, Kyle. As I've already indicated, sitting virtually across from me, my best pal, Natalie. Things going well?
Hello, everyone. Oh, it's going so good. I've been waiting for this for a while.
I know, right into way into episode two, three. I'm very
Yeah.
excited for this movie too. So when we started doing this, we shot each other a list, a top 10 list of what episodes we
Mhm.
wanted to do. I don't remember off the top of my head which ones. I think we both picked Final Destination, which makes sense.
Obvious
And
choice.
then on your list included the movie that we're going to be talking about, and I think it was the only movie on your list that I had never seen before, and it is 1992's Robert Zemeckis film Death Becomes Her, starring Meryl Streep, Goldie Hawn, and Bruce Willis. Tell me a little bit about your history with this movie and why you chose this movie.
Well, when I chose this movie, I assumed that you had seen it since we were born in the same year. I just literally assumed that anyone in our age group, and for anyone listening, we're old millennials. Um, so I assumed everyone had seen this movie because I have seen it. When I say I've seen it 100 times, that might be not so generous. I watched this movie as a kid, so it came out in 1992, but I didn't see it in the theater. I saw it at home on TV because it was on TV all the time, which once again, I have no idea how you never saw it. And
What
it was
channel
PG
was this on?
13. Like, I felt like it was on everything because it was one of those movies where it had this really big cast, but it was not like critically acclaimed. So I feel like every network probably got it for cheap and just kept rolling it over and over again. Because what's going to make you stop channel flipping other than like Meryl Streep, Bruce Willis, and Goldie Hawn? Like, come on. So my cousin Vinny and I, who I feel like is going to come up a lot on this podcast, so we'll just introduce him. He's a real person.
Local
He is my
legend.
cousin Vinny. He is from New Jersey. So we'll just get that out of the way. But not surprisingly, this movie is a cult classic, but it's also a gay cult classic. Like, it is very precious and much loved by the LGBTQA plus community. Like, it is, um, yeah, it's a big one.
That's
And
what,
I just think it's the definition of camp.
gosh, man, if you would have told me as a 5-year-old, as a 6-year-old, that, hey, there's this horror comedy starring the dude from Die Hard, directed by the dude that did Who Framed Roger Rabbit and Back to the Future, I would have been like, holy shit, this sounds like the greatest thing in my entire life. So I have no idea how I missed this, especially because, like, I feel like there's so many. Like watching this movie now, I feel like I should have seen the like TV edited version of this like 30 times already. I feel like this
It,
is something this would be on USA during the summers, after Child's Play 3, maybe before Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, all the when they were just where you playing the hits on USA Network over the summers of like 1993 to 1996, But gosh, yeah, I completely missed this. And also another, I'll frankly say, embarrassing thing that I'll admit, here on this podcast is this is the first Meryl Streep movie I've ever seen.
which is also wild. I'm not saying that I'm like the world's biggest Meryl Streep fan, but the only reason why I ever even think about watching movies with her in it is because of this movie.
My
Like,
my wife was shook when I was like, this is the only one I've ever seen. And it was shook and then also like was rolled her eyes and said, "Oh, of course you haven't." And said,
you've
"You
never seen
absolutely."
you've never seen First. No, she's not in that. Shit. I almost said First Wives Club. That's Goldie Hawn.
I thought you were gonna say First Night. And I was like,
No, but
I
it's
don't I
great
don't
too.
I don't remember her in it's a great movie. I don't remember her in that. But no, but she was like, "You've never seen Devil Wears Prada?" And I was like, I think I've seen now that movie. I feel like I've seen clips on TV of that movie maybe at some point. And I feel like the characters aren't super dissimilar, are they?
Um,
The haircut seems similar.
full disclosure, I have also never seen Devil Wears Prada, which
Dang.
seems like it's right up my alley, and I know I would love it, but I've actually never taken the time to watch it because I feel like I know what it is just from so much exposure on the internet. But Meryl Streep plays a bitch so well. Like this was the beginning of like that character of, well, she's based off of a real person in Devil Wears Prada, but that she's just such a perfect like mean woman in this movie and in that movie too, which she's supposed to be a very nice person in real life. So I think those are the best mean girls.
I was doing some light digging on the internet, and a little bit of tea about this movie is that Meryl Streep, at least for at least in one interview I read, did not particularly take fondness to this movie in the making of it. Saying in
So I read the
particular,
same one.
so Robert Zemeckis is very well known for making movies that, are really kind of cutting edge and pushing the envelope in terms of visual effects. Like Roger Rabbit was like, it still looks really, really good,
It's so
and
good.
even the aging and de-aging effects in Back to the Future, or, being able to, second episode in a row, I'm going to mention Forrest Gump, is, all of the, putting Forrest Gump in these, like, putting him on a couch next to John Lennon and this and that, and even all the way towards like those like creepy Polar Express movies, or like there was like a Beowulf movie where everyone had like dead beady eyes and it was real creepy. And so it's not saying that he has like a great perfect track record, but is like is known for this. But yeah, that quote with Meryl Streep, kind of speaking specifically towards like, I'm never going to do this sort of work ever again, because it was more like acting to a volleyball on a stick kind of situation.
This might be me being presumptuous about Meryl Streep, but
Sure.
she seems like the type that's like, she's in it for like the acting, like face to face and working off of another person. Like she feels like she's real deep, like one of those theater kids, like that, like this was her whole life. Obviously it is. She's been acting her entire life. She never stopped. Like Goldie Hawn, like low-key retired and just kind of pops up every now and then. But yeah, she said that she didn't like doing like the visual effects, and I can imagine that it's probably exhausting, but she did say she liked the way the movie turned out, and I'm actually really surprised that she gave that negative feedback, because I think her acting in this movie is perfection. Like they're working with the craziest scenarios, and like they all just I think it's perfect. Like no one should take it down a notch.
Yeah, I was like, even with how I'm sure like rudimentary it was, like the way they were making these effects and everything, I was just really impressed with, when she wakes up off the foot of the stairs, starts walking over, sits at the piano, it's like, I don't know, she's selling that shit super well, especially when she's like, or like later on when she's like looking through like Goldie Hawn's, empty stomach, like
Yeah.
she's pretty fun, and she's super mean, and she really knows where to hurt.
I think okay, so let me start let me start by asking this.
Sure.
When I'm assuming you expected this movie to be very silly and very campy and very 90s.
Pretty
Is that
silly,
the
yeah.
expectation? Okay. Because if you like just the opening scene and the way that like it comes down like into Hollywood, like the backdrop looks so fake. Like I feel like they really set you up for like, this is like a fantastical situation that you're about to enter. That opening scene, that song, like that Broadway play, like it's the worst best song.
Worse or better than, it just reminds me of that opening that Kate Capshaw did at the beginning of Temple of Doom. Do you remember that? The Anything Goes song?
I've seen the Indiana Jones movies once each, and one of them was just like 3 days ago.
Oh, well, there you go. Was it that
It
one?
wasn't Temple of Doom.
Oh,
Temple of Boom.
Temple of Boom. Um, I yeah, it was, so I mean, it starts in Broadway. They're in New York City, and yeah,
In
you're
the
right. Like
70s.
it almost starts, yeah, it's like Broadway 1978. And you're right, it is like really kind of like painted backdrops,
Hmm.
and I was wondering, I don't know if you know Songbird. Is that a real Broadway show?
I don't think so. I think it is made
It's made
up
up.
for this specifically. And um I just love that, like, it's supposed to be really bad, and like it comes across as really bad, like when the disco break like happens and everything.
It's pretty
Like,
fun.
and people are literally leaving the audience, like as they're like pulling like the camera back, and Bruce Willis or Ernest, he looks just mesmerized, like this is the best thing he's ever seen. um
That was the
and I
confusing part. I wrote that down where like how, because it starts with coming down, it's like Songbird starring Madeline Ashton and blah blah blah
mhm,
blah blah, and you have people walking out and they're just like, what a old fucking hag, what a mess, why are we even doing this, what an
yeah,
embarrassment putting somebody who's 40 or whatever out there.
yeah,
And I'm like, I don't know, did y'all know like she was starring in this before you like bought tickets and went? Like, why are
yeah,
you upset now? And why are you leaving? Like,
yeah.
what this is. I mean, I would think you maybe know a little bit about what this show's about.
Well, that's okay. There's two really interesting things about this movie, like having seen it so many times that like I've done the mental gymnastics of it. So the first thing is, at most points of this movie, with the exception of Helen's book party, you don't know anyone's actual age. You only know what point of time you're in. So at the book party, she says that Helen is 50, which Goldie Hawn was actually I think I did the math on that too. She was like 46, if I did the math right at the time. But they never really say how old they are. They don't say how old Madeline Ashton is. And so that confuses me. But then the other thing that's a mystery about this movie is, how the hell did they even become frenemies? Like, how did they don't ever say their history or how they know each other. Like, they knew each other as kids.
Yeah, like they
That's
knew
all you
each
really know.
other when they were kids, and they and again, so I'll back up real quick where you open on this show, you see like the song number going, and then and then people are getting upset and leaving and walking out saying, oh, she's too old, what's she doing this, she's embarrassing herself. And then I'm like, okay, I get it, you have this message of like, we don't allow women to be as easily accepted into like the public sphere or whatever, um past a certain age, right?
Mhm.
Or when you have like old dudes playing young dudes, pretty consistently in movies, and like even now pairing
Mhm.
like 50-year-old dudes with like 20-year-old, female
Mhm.
co-leads or whatever. And you're like, okay, it's this that's the kind of send up that they're doing. That's the kind of thing that they're kind of roasting like
Yeah.
Hollywood and Broadway or whatever on. And but then you have like Bruce Willis, who is like just completely fucking mesmerized by this
Yeah.
woman. And
Yeah.
the idea is that she is able to, and has demonstrated multiple times before, that she has just the beauty and the ability to woo any man, especially,
Hmm.
whatever. So I'm just like, which one is it? Is it that she's because she still seems to have like the upper edge, right? At least over Goldie
Okay.
Hawn.
So what I think is, for that specific thing, she goes into that conversation. So that conversation that they have in the dressing room, like where she meets Ernest, and like, you know, they do their fake hellos and everything, just like acting surprised and all of that. I
Yeah.
I love it. And she's so shitty to her assistant. um it seems very clear, like she's starting to feel her age, she's starting to show her age. They do a really good job of like zooming in on like the wrinkles around her eyes and things like that. And she's, it says that line of like, tell me, doctor, do you think I'm starting to need
Yeah.
you? Which I love. she's like, okay, this is a win-win. Like, this is not only Helen's fiance that I can steal, but he's also a plastic surgeon, like a world-renowned plastic surgeon. So she then can recapture her youth again and again through that. I think that him already having, like, being a big fan of her, she knew it would be like an easy grab. So I think that that works. And also, Ernest is the exception to all the other shitty people for the most part.
There's Dakota.
There's,
Yeah, there's
yeah,
kind of a little bit. I was
there's a
looking
few
up,
things.
seeing, I was just surprised that plastic surgery, I always think of that as like an 80s, 90s like thing.
Oh no, they
But
were doing breast implants in the 50s.
I was looking at I just Googled, when was plastic surgery invented? And the profession dates back to approximately 800 BC. So there you go. Joke's on me.
No, thank you to those surgeries.
Yeah, I know. So, but that's the thing. So it's like, and I guess something I like about this movie is that it introduces you to the idea that, you know, Madeline is straight up ruthless and awful, but you kind of empathize with her a little bit. You know, it's like you see where she's struggling, she's
You
losing.
empathize with Madeline?
I think you're supposed to, at least a little bit. Like, you know, she's losing the one thing that has kept her, you know, in her own idea,
What she views as
relevant or
valued.
vibrant, valued. You know, she
Mhm.
even later on when she's talking with Helen about, you know, you had all this privilege and I was trash, which is something that like really I don't remember if that was ever brought up to begin with, but like gets brought up later, so whatever. But so I feel like you're allowed to feel bad for her, and I feel like, and the same thing with Helen too. It's like I think you, and what I like about this movie is that it's fun enough where you can root against everybody, right? You can root for everybody to lose, or my theory is you can root for everyone to win except for Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis garners no empathy in this movie.
That's okay. So this might be a hot take. So what makes these two women so compelling is that they're like this perfect product of like what society like wants women to be, or like what they've taken value off of what society has told them gives them value. Like even the Liesel, when she gives Madeline the potion, she says yours is one of the most beautiful faces to ever grace the silver screen. She doesn't say that she's talented, she just says that she's beautiful. And Helen doesn't get success with writing until she's thin and young and vibrant and beautiful. So like they've taken all these things that they've learned and they've just become terrible people. So like even though you're like, oh, like now I feel bad for Madeline because, you know, Helen was treating her like she was trash or that she was skanky and all of that, but then Madeline took that and decided to be a bad friend and stole all of her boyfriends over the years and became an even worse person. And then Helen bounces back and volleys off of her and then tries to murder her. Like they just keep getting like worse and worse and worse. They're like the worst frenemies ever.
Cyclical skankiness. Just
yeah, like
never ending.
Bruce Willis.
I don't like that word. I'm sorry.
What, skankiness?
Yeah.
I use it in that like
I'll
like
strike
like
that from the record.
I feel like that's how Helen views Madeline.
Right.
But Bruce Willis, real quick, because
Sure.
obviously the women get a lot of credit for their acting in this movie and like their characters, but he's so funny. And I don't think I've ever seen Bruce Willis play a character like this. I can't think of any other movies where he's like this like big dork that just the way he reacts to things is so funny.
He's got like, I feel like Rick Moranis could have easily played this role. You know what I mean? Or like,
yeah. So
somebody,
Kevin Kline was the first choice.
That would have been good too.
He would have been good too, I think. But what I like about Bruce Willis and what I like about his character, Ernest's character, is he's not a good person. He's he's just drawn to like whatever's pulling him. So he's like stuck between these two women. He doesn't need either of them, but he's just entranced by how they look and like their draw, but they don't need him either. They're just using him as like a trophy to like pass back and forth, basically. Where, and I'm kind of skipping ahead a little bit here, where I never like thought about this till I'd seen this movie this time, because everybody's just terrible and trying to kill everyone. I was like, oh wait, like he doesn't know that she's like taking this potion, and she's like yelling at him, calling him flaccid, and like, just being as mean as can be.
Flaccid.
I love that. It's just like, maybe I'll go to one of your clients. At least I know I'll get something stiff. It's
I
like,
know,
damn,
geez.
that's brutal. Like, I would be upset too, but he straight up strangles her. Like,
Yeah.
we get into like domestic like abuse, and like I never thought about it in my like in all my years and all my times watching this movie, because I'm like, God, she's such a terrible person. Like, I would want to strangle her too. But in like, he literally like pushes her right down the stairs. Um, so yeah, Bruce Willis, he ends up making amends in the end after, with his latter years.
Maybe we'll get there. Maybe. So I did really like that. Well, first of all, I'm like, Goldie, why? Like, watching it again, I was like, why would you bring him there? Why would you do that? But then, later on she says, well, I just needed you to pass the Madeline Ashton test, because, she insinuates that multiple people have, left her to go, to go
Yeah.
to Mad. And I did like that quick jump cut, it's like, I am
Or
not
he's like, I
interested
have,
in Madeline.
yeah,
I have no interest in Madeline Ashton. And then, like, split second later
their
to
wedding.
the wedding bells. And then, why would she go to the wedding? And then also, why wear a trench coat?
For dramatic effect,
I
obviously.
suppose
Like,
so. That sounds
just a very soapy thing to do. Like, she wasn't like at the wedding, she was like up in the rafters watching, because she came down from like those stairs. Like, you know how those like little,
like in Wayne's
those
World
small
2.
chapels have, yeah, they have like those rafters. That's where she's watching from. That's how I envisioned it. And she's just up there just raging. um and I love what happens to Helen. Like, again, just showing how much like value they're putting on this trophy man, where she gains a bunch of weight. She's literally eating frosting out of a, she has a whole cabinet of that's frosting that she's eating.
With her
She has
hands.
cats with her
Yeah,
hands. And then she's just rewatching that scene of Madeline Ashton getting strangled.
I made the I don't I this might date us. I wrote down that she eats frosting like Ron DeSantis, just digging the fingers in and just eating straight out. I'm like,
Yeah.
I wonder that's what it was like being around him. Yeah, I and then just that was, I felt like they did the most, I don't know, they did a lot with, I don't know, Goldie Hawn was game for a lot here. I don't know about
Yeah, she
the,
went through the most.
the
She
whole,
probably went through way more makeup, prosthetics, and bullshit than Meryl Streep did.
the fat suit, interesting choice, only because it ties back, we go to, you know, she's not paying her rent anymore. She's gotten her last eviction notice. You got the police on the door. They carry her out. Someone who has not been able to pay their rent in in a house of cats seems to have really good health insurance to get into even to a facility like that, a
Oh
residential one
yeah,
like that.
yeah. I
Also, cameo alert. I don't know if you saw, like, when they were sitting there, the woman, I think it would be to her left, is the mom from that 70s show. Did you
I
catch
noticed
that?
her this time, and I've never noticed that that was her before. This was the first watch that I ever noticed that she was there. But I love, I just love the interaction between her and the therapist, because like that is obviously not a healthy relationship either, where like she says she wants to talk about Madeline Ashton, they all freak out, and then they go in the office and she's like, damn it, Helen, like yelling at her. And I'm like, I don't think that's a healthy way to treat
Damn
your
it, Helen.
patients.
Damn it, Helen. 6 months of therapy, not even 1 pound lighter.
Yeah.
That's what
Oh
she
yeah,
said.
yeah. She says that.
I'm
But see,
like, okay.
I think that was also part of the choice of her being heavier, was so that Madeline could be even shittier, because she, what does she say? When she says forever young, she reads the book title and then she says
Eternally
something like
fat.
eternally fat. Yeah. Like she, like, because she's like, oh, like she's less than because she's overweight. Like it's very clear that like her weight is like a huge part of why, like, Helen like just thinks she's just this awful, disgusting person. Like the physical appearance she just can't get past. Like she's so narcissistic and so vain. Um yeah, so I feel like they made a point of that also, so that her transformation was so extreme. But even if you look at her when she was thin, like she's wearing very little makeup. Her hair is like that very like plain brown, and then she like pops it to like a redhead in a red dress, and looks like a completely different person.
Now she could have just done that on her own to begin with. That's why I don't. But yeah, I did like the just like when the therapist is like, you need to get over her. You just need to completely eliminate, and she cuts her off. Yes.
She just cuts her off.
Eliminate, or whatever. I thought
It's so good.
that was pretty good. And then, and then we jump pretty quick to, it's like what, another 7 years later after this, when she
They
decides
do two
she's gonna eliminate.
7-year jumps. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
pretty fun. And then 37 at the end, I think.
And I think they keep doing that to make you lose track. Like I think it's
Yeah.
intentional that they want you to lose track of how old anyone would be. Like, but I think they do an amazing job with the lighting, the makeup, like everything. I follow everything of when people are supposed to look older and younger, and
Mhm.
it's not so dramatic.
So and so the idea is that just because Helen is, quote beautiful unquote again, she immediately gets this book deal
Oh
and
yeah, absolutely.
writes this book and is
Because it's
able.
about how she stayed looking so young and how she stayed so fit, or like how she lost all that
Right,
weight.
right.
Hmm. Because
So
everybody wants the answer to eternal youth, so it all like fits together. Okay, another thing too.
yeah,
I love that they call each other Mad and Hell every
yeah,
time they
love it.
reunite, and then they call Ernest Ern. I was
Yeah,
like, these are great. These are great nicknames.
that just went over my head. I didn't realize the urn with the
I
urn. That's
just
great.
realized that in my
Love
last
it.
watch, like as
Love
an
it.
adult, because I didn't know what an urn was as a child.
And
Really quick back to Ernest, when I might be skipping ahead, but when they reintroduce him as, now he's a retired surgeon and now he's a mortician because his hands, I'm assuming that's arthritis, or like,
I thought it was because he hates his wife. I guess it makes
no,
his hand
no, he
shake.
actually, okay, so when they reintroduce him, he does that thing where he's like trying to throw
Yeah.
the surgical knives at the dartboard. He can't hit it. Like his hands shake when he's like holding his drinks and stuff. You'll see him like shaking his hands. He actually has a physical ailment that makes it so that he cannot perform surgery any longer.
Oh, I thought it was just because he was like an alcoholic and hated his wife and
No,
just.
and then when Lisa, when she heals his hand, when she makes his hand young again, remember he throws the sword perfectly,
And is able
because
to,
yeah. So
because that's what
what I
surgeons can do. They're really good like
they
dart
can
players too.
absolutely
Yeah.
they do surgery from across the room.
Plastic surgery. They just throw needles across the room like that.
But I love when and I don't know if that was intentional, that his career only failed because there was actually something that prevented him from doing his actual skill that he was trained to do. It had nothing to do with age or his appearance. It's because he actually wasn't able to perform his job. I don't know if that means anything, but the little things that I like about this movie, and I have to give them credit for because it really
Uh-huh.
pissed me off, is reading like a few of the reviews were like, this movie has no substance. Like it's very shallow. It has no layers. The characters have no depth. And I was like, okay, first of all, it's satire. It's camp. Obviously, y'all are letting it go right over your heads. But just like little things. So when he's walking down the hallway and he's got his whole team of people and he's like, he died in the hot tub, and they hand him like a little pair of like medical gloves. And they go, he was really swollen and bloated. And he throws the medical gloves and they hand him like the elbow high, like black rubber gloves. I was like, I think that shit's so funny. Like, cause he knew it was going to get messy and he was going to have to dig deep, and like, for just handing him gloves. I'm like, little things like that make this movie so fun to me.
I do like,
I feel for Ernest.
he's so like, I don't know. I think, yeah, he's very dumb.
He's very dumb for a
Which
surgeon.
for a
Which
surgeon,
actually, you know, that can add up.
yeah. So let me back up. So where are we now? So we're at the party where, you know, we find out that Helen's beautiful, you know, the mad hell.
Oh,
Love
and
it.
it's so good when she says, oh, looks like she lost a few pounds. And then that
And the
woman
person steps
moves
aside.
and she's behind her.
Right.
Oh, it's so good. Also, like, even Madeline's like body language, as soon as she sees her, like she starts grabbing her waist, like checking to see like how her outfit feels and how thin she looks. Like she immediately goes into deep insecurity. Like there's no happiness for Helen. Like she laughs at the invite. She's like making fun of the title of the book. She can't congratulate her for her success. Like it's all bitterness, jealousy, and just toxic friendship. Like it's so representative of like women bringing other women down. Like the fact that she sees that she lost weight and looks beautiful and immediately thinks less of herself. Like that moment, the way that she like changes her posture and is like just so uncomfortable, it's amazing that someone else looking good and being comfortable in their own skin would make her feel less than, which I love. I think it's so it's perfectly encapsulating of like how women can be in friendships as well, even if you are happy for them.
And then, you know, and then Bruce Willis just immediately being like, oh no, let's go talk to her. Let's do it. You know,
Yeah.
blah, 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 blah,
And did
blah.
the same thing
Just-
that he did at Broadway.
That's why I'm like,
I know he's terrible. I know he's terrible.
he allows himself to be in the position that he's in. And I feel like he gets off a little easy. But you know, this of course upsets Meryl Streep. She tries to go, you know, get some extra work done. Or has she seen Dakota yet? Because you do learn that she is having an extramarital affair with a young
so she goes to
man.
Dakota first. She goes to Dakota first to try to like ease her sorrows by going and seeing her young boyfriend, because obviously he makes her feel young.
Yeah.
And then of course he has a younger girl there, but it's like, okay, first of all, what is your moral compass here, ma'am? Because he's your fuck boy, like, and you're married and you're upset because he has another girl over. Like he has every right. Like maybe that's just me, but I'm like, I didn't blame Dakota in that situation. He was mean to her one, like after she got mad, but like,
Yeah,
I think he was totally fine there. Like she's a married woman.
I think so too. I think it was just the fact that it was like, damn it. A young person, damn it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, look at
And I love
that
that
ass.
he says, go find someone your own age, and then the rain just starts pouring down.
Immediately. I know, just immediately like that. And that's what
so good.
And that's when it definitely skews into like a horror movie a little bit, right? Because you know, then you got the thunder, you got the rain going.
Yes.
She starts going,
She's
you know,
desperate.
towards she did get that business card earlier from that weird dude
that she ripped in half.
Liesel, you know, and ripped in half, and then put it back together, and let's go find this place, which is populated by Siegfried and Roy types with gold belts.
Love the way that those guys are wardrobed. I love the hair. I love the vest with no shirts. Like, and I love that she says, keep your ass handy when she like tells him to move from the couch. And like she is objectifying these men so much and just living her best life. Ugh.
I forget exactly what she said, but it was just like, don't talk, get away from us, keep your ass handy. And then she like just winks at at Meryl
Meryl
Streep.
Streep. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was
Good.
pretty great. I was also, like I'm sure I would have been as a young boy that may have been, infatuated with Isabella Rossellini. Just what is
Oh,
going on with that whole situation that she's wearing and how to keep
have
all of that together.
did you happen to read anything about her being in this movie and in that outfit?
No.
This is another fun one.
Okay.
So Isabella Rossellini was only 40 when this movie came out. But she had been retired from modeling, obviously, for a long time, because your modeling careers back in the day, back in the 90s, you were done when you were in your 20s. So she came out in this movie and like people were shocked that she was in this outfit. They were like, oh my gosh, like she looks so amazing. Like, I can't believe she looks that young. And I'm like, she is 40. I am 36. Like, the way that ages are viewed from like the early 90s to like now, like when you look at women like in their 40s or even their 50s, like the Golden Girls, like they were in their 50s and like they had the short like grandma cuts and
Wasn't Estelle Getty the
the
youngest one?
coastal, yeah, like the coastal grandmother like look,
Yeah.
and so I just thought that was so funny. And I know she's supposed to be playing a character that's in her 70s, but yeah,
It's
people
pretty
couldn't believe that she was 40. And I was like, I think she looks like a very well taken care of 40-year-old woman. Like she looks young, but like, yeah, it was just really, it's really wild, like reading things like that, because it was like, oh, do you all understand how satire works? Like, this is exactly what we're fucking talking about.
Well,
Like,
that's
she
kind of irony
retired
of
in
it,
her
right?
late 20s. Like, there it
Yeah.
is. Yeah. So I thought that was fun.
Well, she's
Fun,
looking
not fun
great.
fact. She's a
Still
beautiful,
looks
she's a
great.
very striking woman. Her features, like her eyebrows, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I would kill for those eyebrows. And I love her in this movie too, because I think she's so good at being like subtle and dramatic, and the way she uses her words, like everything is really great. And even like the way she walks up to the little box and
Yeah.
she pulls out the blade and then like is standing to the side still and like slips it like into her little like waist wrap. Like her physical acting is even so fun.
I was a little lost on the origins of this potion because
It doesn't matter.
okay, good. I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything because
Mm-mm.
she says, like Meryl Streep guesses, she's like 38, 28, 23, or whatever. And, she says, oh, I'm 71. And
I love that she gets mad that she said 38.
yeah.
That's what's so funny too, because it's like you are in your 70s, so you should be happy that she said 38.
And that's
what you're looking for.
Yeah. So she offers the potion, ultimately takes it, right, with whatever that cost was. And it was,
I'm sure it was super high for her because she knows she's used to be a famous movie star.
Yeah. And then because they also insinuated that, or they even said that Goldie Hawn didn't pay much because she didn't have anything.
He said not much, but it was everything I had.
Right.
Yeah.
But gosh, and then you see like, all right, things are tightening up, perking up, wrinkles are going away, this and this and this.
Such good effects too, to like make her look younger. Like her hair is all of a sudden just dry and like shiny, and like that, like it looks almost like an Instagram filter that they put on her face, and like her cheeks are glowing, and then her like the like obviously she's not wearing a bra, and then they put her like in like a push-up bra, and like you see her ass like lift.
Right.
It's so
I know
good.
there's no there's no Death Becomes Her Instagram filter, huh?
Oh my god, that's so fun.
That'd be fun.
So fun. Yeah.
And then all of that just to get back home where she
Yeah.
sees Bruce Willis, and all he says is, "Did you change your hair?" Which I think, I don't know, was that just
That's so
intentional, that
funny.
like all the
Yeah.
work that women can go through for their
Hmm.
appearance, just for their dipshit like hetero relationship
Yeah.
husband, to go like, oh, your hair, it's different, you know.
Yeah, because there's no attention to detail. It's just something beautiful is standing in front of me. Like that's all he's not noticing details in her because he doesn't love her. Like I don't think he ever does. I don't think
I
he
don't
ever loves Helen. Like
Yeah.
he's just drawn to beauty. He's a fucking plastic surgeon. Like he's obsessed with things looking young. Like I'm like that, to me, he goes for whatever is like visually aesthetically pleasing to him, and he doesn't care that she's a monster. Like he even refers to
Mm,
her as it.
yeah.
When in the beginning he says, "Is it awake?" And the woman who like cares for them, she's like, "It is." Like she refers to her as it when she's speaking to him, which I think is really funny.
When Meryl Streep took the potion, and they were referring to like, hey, here are the rules though, you have to kind of fake your own death or disappear from public, whatever,
Yeah.
and gave the example, or you could just simply say, I want to be alone. And then
Mm.
Meryl Streep goes, oh, even her, or whatever. Do you know who
Yeah.
they were referencing there?
No, they're not referencing Marilyn Monroe because they show her later.
That's who I thought, and actually that'll be a question later, because I missed her completely, but I had to look it up. Greta Garbo, who said in the
Mm,
Oscar-winning movie Grand Hotel, she famously said in that movie, "I want to be alone," but also
yeah.
famously retired from acting at 36.
Yeah,
Um, so, and just said,
that totally makes
and just
sense.
disappeared from public life. So I didn't know, and yeah, I didn't know who Greta Garbo was, so I had to look that up, because I was like, is somebody supposed to? I think at the time, I think a lot of people would have known that reference much better. But yeah, I thought that was interesting.
I I always wonder why they didn't choose to make Liesel older, because a lot of those stars would have already been famous and or dead or retired, whatever you want to call it, before she would even have probably have taken that potion. So clearly
Mhm.
this is something that's been passed on like through generation to generation,
Yeah, I was
which
expecting
I
her
don't really
to.
care about the history of the potion. Like I like she just says it's magic and I'm like, fine. Like we know it's not science, doesn't matter. And I think what I love the most about it, which we learn really quickly because Meryl Streep gets a full 6 hours of enjoying this
Yeah,
after she dies, that their bodies can decompose even though they're living forever, which is weird science. Like that to me
yeah.
doesn't, but it works for this movie.
Not like the weird science that was conducted in the film
No.
and subsequent USA television show Weird
Yes.
Science.
I,
But
I knew
yeah,
you were going to bring that up when I said weird science.
yeah. I know, just yeah, was magic in a world too dependent on science, said
Yeah.
said every anti-vaxxer.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're like,
But yeah,
yeah,
when she
go
when
for
she
it.
falls when she falls down the stairs and you see her, like they want to make sure that you are very clear that she is dead when they show her neck
First
like
hit
go
is that neck.
sideways.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But I love when Ernest is on the phone with Helen and you start seeing her leg move and her arm move like in the background. Like that feels like the most horror like type event in the whole movie because like it's creepy.
Yeah.
I think that's actually like pretty scary, that like shop. The music is very like fun. Also, that's another thing. The music in this movie is amazing.
Made by a frequent Bob Zemeckis collaborator, Alan Silvestri, who also did, a lot of the Robert Zemeckis movies, like Forrest Gump, Back to the Future, this and this and
Yeah,
this. The
it's so good.
music that I thought this was the closest to, because it was more kind of like a horror score a little bit. Sometimes it'll, has your hard violin kind of, psycho kind of vibe.
Ooh, I wonder
But
what you're gonna say.
um I think it has a lot of similarities to another Alan Silvestri score done in the 80s, Predator.
Oh,
I
I
get
didn't even think about that.
I was looking at this and I was like, where am I like getting that like da, 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 you know, like whatever,
Oh, I'm
whatever.
gonna listen to both of them tomorrow.
And then realizing that Alan Silvestri, now I don't know why, but like, and Alan Silvestri did the scores for both.
Okay.
So I think maybe he was just like, you know, just dipping into some old comfortable waters, you know, borrowing a
Yeah.
little bit, but I don't know. So I love that vibe. And also like that, but of course a lot more goofiness and campiness, you know, than the Predator score. But you know, yeah, I just love the Tales from the Crypt vibes, and that makes sense given like, you know, the 1992, given kind of
Yes.
like the pedigree behind it. Because I think even Robert Zemeckis
They made
did.
horror very fun at that time. Like they realized that there was like a market for people who think death and the living dead can be amusing. Like
Yeah,
the whole premise of her like not realizing that her neck is completely twisted, and like is when like the visual effects start to like really come in, like, and her just yelling out, "I can see my ass." Oh, by the way, the only thing that was edited for television is the language. Everything else is the same.
all the
So
violence.
she says, "I can see my butt." All the violence is the same. The outfit, like that outfit that Liesel is wearing, like all of that is all the same, which I
Good.
think is so funny. It's just the language, because obviously they're doing some very immoral and terrible things in this movie, but they were like, no, don't say ass on TV.
One thing I also like to see in movies every now and then is whenever you're plotting to murder somebody, I like when the movie plays through that scenario. So when Goldie Hawn and
Yes.
Bruce,
He's
when,
telling the story, like actually in the
I
like
love it.
act of them. That is so good. I know.
I'm glad
And
we
then when
still
she
got
says make it look like she had too much to drink, and there's like 20 liquor bottles on the
yeah,
floor of the car.
I thought that was pretty good. I was like, oh, that's gonna fly out and then also just blow up. Who's gonna
So good.
notice? But yeah, I thought that was great. And then yeah, so they take I did like that, you know, once Bruce Willis realizes Meryl Streep's still alive, don't come near me or follow me
Follow me.
or talk to me. And but yeah, no, I thought that was fantastic. So they go to the hospital, right, to see this doctor that,
Yeah. And
you
he
know,
runs into an ambulance. I love he just drives into that ambulance.
oh my gosh.
And the
But then
doctor's so good. Like he's like taking her temperature, listening to her not beating heart. He sees like the neck, and then he's like, "Yeah, can you hand me that for a second?" Like to the flask, and just takes a
oh
swig of the flask.
yeah, okie dokie. Can
Yeah,
I see that for a second? And then you go and then you see him dead.
he has a
This is
heart
pretty
attack
good.
and dies.
I know that was pretty funny.
Oh my gosh. And he's like, where Bruce Willis is running around. That's one of my favorite parts, is when he's running around the hospital and he's like, where are all the doctors? And they're all helping that one doctor. But then when he gets back, I told Joel that he should say this if I die before he does, when they say that I'm at the morgue. When she says,
She's
she's at
gonna,
the morgue. And he goes, she's at the new morgue. She's gonna be furious.
I know.
That is like, it's comedy gold. I just think that's the funniest thing. And he's just like running. I'm sure you have this in your notes too, when he's like running down towards the morgue, the weeping floating nuns.
Yeah.
They make no sense. I have no idea. I couldn't figure it out. I tried researching, I tried Googling, I could only find dream significance of floating nuns.
Okay.
And but nothing in terms of death becomes her. But if you literally just Google floating weeping nuns, it's everything is all questions about what the fuck does that mean in this movie. Like it's all attached to death becomes her.
That's pretty fun. Yeah,
And
I
I
had,
couldn't find any meaning behind it.
so he gets her out of the body bag,
Mhm.
brings her back home, and then you've got Goldie Hawn in a pretty kick-ass spy outfit,
Oh my
binocular
gosh, it's
situation
so good.
with the
The
hat. Loved it.
glamour of that spy outfit. Oh,
Yeah, that was my favorite.
it's so good. Like her like long extensions of her legs, and then she almost gets run over by the car.
Yeah,
Like it's like inch away from her face. Like all of it's so fun and dramatic.
I like how she had, even though she had nothing to do with the murder, had like no qualms. When she comes in, she's talking to Bruce Willis, Meryl Streep's upstairs. It's like, why are you covered in paint? What would you be doing? They would require you to be covered in paint. It's like, painting. Which he mentions earlier, what that lady gets really disgusted with him at the bar when he says, like, she's like, what's your secret? You made my aunt look so great. And he's like, spray paint, which I'm like, I don't know why she would be that like put aback by
they
that.
literally pump the bodies up with formaldehyde. You might as well go for it. Like,
right.
Yeah. I would be like, wow, that's smart.
And then just this, again, just the campiness. And it's just like this like back and forth about like, she's upstairs, she's resting. Yeah, Ern, she's not resting, she's dead. And then like, but he doesn't just like clarify, like, no, she fell down the stairs, broke her neck. She's standing up right now I don't know how she's still alive. Like, and you can't just say that.
And she's Goldie Hawn's just doing the whole confession.
She's dead, just like we plotted together. Just yelling it
and you
down
just
the halls.
See the nails. I love seeing her Madeline's hand just claw that wood. Oh.
And then my favorite fucking chef's kiss, mad hell, that when she's standing on the stairs. I was like, you could not have done that any more perfectly. I love the delivery there. And just how easily Meryl Streep's just continuing just talking as she's walking down, goes over to their collection of like 12 shotguns.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. For some reason.
She mentions that he's a Republican at some point. So I feel like that all like fits together.
Oh yeah, I guess you're right, huh?
Yeah. But this is my other thing that I love about this part of the movie. Okay, there's two things. So one, when Meryl Streep comes down the stairs, the amount of makeup that they put on her because she's supposed to be like spray painted, and like early in the movie, she's not wearing any eyeliner. Like she's not wearing makeup on her bottom lid. Like she is like beat. Like that face is it is covered in makeup. And so I like that because it shows like this clear distinction between like her being alive, being dead, and then having to literally like paint her face. But her physical acting when she's carrying this shotgun, like when she walks towards her, like from behind, like and has it, and then says, "You brought this on yourself." What is the other thing what did she say after she shoots her? She's just like, what a life, or something like that. Like she's like super like giddy about shooting her. And then as soon as Ernest starts to be like negative about it and is like, how could you do that? So the way that she walks with that shotgun, she like kicks like something like a can or something or the shovel or something on the floor. Like she just looks so fucking scary and mean and just badass. I love it so much. Like she made me want to be just like this cold, hard bitch of a woman my whole life.
She yeah, I forget exactly.
These are the things that make life worth living. That's what she says after these
are the moments that make life worth living. But yeah, I thought that was beautiful. Also, one thing going back with the situation, when it goes to Liesel's house to begin with, and then when they come back, or no, it's when Meryl Streep initially gets pushed down the stairs. I did like the timing of thunderstorms, and I did think it just started to get me thinking. We both lived quite a long time in Southern California. You're still in Southern California. There's
thunderstorms.
Yeah, so I'm just like, it rains so rarely that I just assume every thunderstorm in Southern California is supernatural. Like someone with some agreement somewhere pissed off somebody. So
yes.
Just whenever I see rain and thunder come in.
That's a really good point, actually.
And I think that's probably a good theory that I'm pretty sure doesn't need to be tested. But yeah, so that's when, Meryl Streep's just like, that's what she says. Well, what happens to soft, overweight Republicans in jail, right? In prison.
Yeah.
And because they're thinking like, well, now we got to cover up get rid of this dead body, blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
And then with the meanest looking fucking contacts.
Oh my
too.
gosh.
I love
Well,
it.
they put them on Meryl Streep too, but they're a lot more subtle. Her eyes go like more crystal blue after
Mm,
she's like all made up. Like her contacts are super crystal blue, but Goldie Hawn's are like neon.
is it like, I don't know. Is that how happens when you get waterlogged? I don't know.
No, but her eyes are blue. Her eyes are
Right?
blue, and then they changed to that like demon looking like lime
Yeah.
green, which is really good. Like it makes her look mean, and then her getting up with that hole in her stomach is pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then let me see. I just watched this movie. So let me see where I get tripped up. So they have their shovel fight, which is pretty fun. And Bruce Willis is like,
And the
okay.
shadows,
Yeah, it was
the
pretty fun.
shadow work is so good. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, there's a couple moments where the shadow work looks really fun.
Yeah.
Bruce Willis goes upstairs. He's like,
He's like, I'm gonna go have a drink.
I'm gonna have a drink. I'm done, and remove himself, even though, even outside of finding out about any of this stuff, he is the one that murdered Meryl Streep, by the way. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know if you can just be like, I'm done. I'm removed from this whole situation. I'm going upstairs and then deciding I'm leaving,
Yeah.
but then they decide, no, we need him.
Yes, they decide that I like their whole fight, like
Yeah.
that physical fight, and how silly it is that Helen would sit on the couch where that broken shovel like was thrown, the spear
Pretty
that
fun.
Madeline throws. But yeah, like they end up working out decades of aggression towards each other in what appears to be about 20 minutes.
And that's where you
And
find the whole like, oh, you thought, just say it. You thought I was cheap. You didn't want
mhm,
trash in the house. I heard what you and all your people were saying behind my back and this and this and this. And I'm like, gosh, like they were always so unkind to each other.
yeah, they're just terrible to each other. And it's weird because that happens in real life where people like envy each other or they don't like each other and they just stay friends because they've just known each other for so long. Like, it's really weird. I feel like that's a strange behavior that people sometimes do, but I like that they end up making up by realizing that they both need Ernest now. And that's another time when the shadow work is really amazing because you see their shadows are ginormous, like on the
Yeah.
wall, and his, because he's close up, is like all short next to theirs.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, because he's like this small little man, and they're these like scary undead women that are, when they say please,
Yeah.
so creepy.
Oh, I know. It's terrifying. and then they're like, shit, we're gonna need him forever. Let's get him to
Yeah.
take Liesel's thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then that whole kind of monologue by Bruce Willis is he's just shaking this comically large whiskey glass around, just
Breakfast.
and you know what? And today's the day I stopped drinking, and he takes it, and they're just like, fuck it.
Yeah.
and just
hit him with
and then just
the-
knock him
the
out.
box.
And Bruce Willis, yeah, he did that. They all do that like very physical comedy,
Oh my
broad
gosh,
kind of
when they're
work really well.
reacting to the drink like spilling over, they play
Yeah.
off of each other so well, like all three of them.
And then we get and Bruce Willis waking up pretty quickly on
In the
that
tux, in the pool
in a
house.
tux. The boys changed you. You were not
The
dressed
boys
appropriately.
changed him. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because he saw that kiss the chef, kiss the chef thing on, or at least before.
No, he was
But-
dressed in his like normal. He was ready to leave. He had his suitcase. He had his like tweed
Oh.
jacket, like like
There's
very like East Coast professor looking attire.
Mhm. So and then that's when Liesel's telling him about this and this and that, or talking about the potion, blah 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 blah. He takes a little bit of the potion, his hand
Mhm.
works, but then he ultimately decides like, no, I'm not going to do this. Throws
But
his dagger.
everything that he says too, like, what if I get bored?
Yeah.
All the people around me are gonna die. It's like, that sounds terrible. I just love that he goes to that thought process of that being like the most awful thing, because he's not like the way that Goldie Hawn and Meryl Streep were viewing it. It was super short term and selfish. Like they were just like, I just want to look young forever. They didn't think about the consequences. They didn't ask about the side effects, like nothing. Like he was like, oh my gosh, like that sounds terrible. Like I wouldn't want to do that. So I like that, like that he thought about it long term. It's kind of fun.
And then we get to this party where the person who initially gives the business card to Meryl Streep is, conducting the orchestra up on the conducting the band up top. And because they're holding this I guess this party, so
Annual springtime party.
so all the people who are in hiding at least can do something social. That's my understanding,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And then how many, I guess I watched this twice and I was like, and maybe I just didn't see anybody, because I wrote down Elvis at party. Would have liked to see more celebrities here.
Okay.
Who did I
Marilyn
miss?
Monroe was there.
Okay.
James Dean is who he steals the car from after he falls off the roof.
Missed that.
Yeah, because he turns around, he has a cigarette in his mouth. It's definitely James Dean.
Oh gosh.
And then those are the only ones that are like super obvious, because they dress them very costumey. Like they're iconic like photos. Right. But those are the only ones that I noticed. I should go back and watch that party scene and see if I can spot anybody else. So then Ernest escapes and he enters the party, and now Helen and Madeline are chasing him because they know he has the potion in his pocket.
Right.
Yeah. Which him running, like, and the dogs, and he's like on the roof, like all of that is so great. And again, like, why is it so windy? And like, why is the weather so it's spring in LA?
It's spring in Beverly Hills, and
yeah.
Right. And I know, sweet dogs,
Yeah.
that know how to use an elevator.
Who knows? Maybe they took the potion.
That's also
the
true.
Smartest of dogs.
Oh my gosh. See, I don't know if I would want to take the potion, but I would probably give it to my dogs.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, that was gonna be one of my questions to you, was would you take the potion?
Ooh. Let me think on that.
You think about it.
And because we're almost I feel like we're getting close to the end here. They're chasing him. I love the, just very silly, gets caught on that,
the suspenders.
The suspender, like on the banister, whatever that thing is.
She's trying to get him to grab the scarf.
Yeah. And then even he goes, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no. And
it's the way that they yell at him to take the potion. Like, first of all, I would not want to take it before falling off of that house, because who knows what condition you'll be in and still alive. But also when they're like telling him to like drink it, like they're trying to be like sweet and convincing, and then they get like mean sounding, and they're like, do it, like drink it. And that's when he decides not to, because and they're like, we need you. And he's like, absolutely not. Like he's like, I would rather fall to my death. That's an extreme choice to have to make.
It was kind of the same thing when, right before he pushes Meryl Streep down the stairs, he's like, help me, or like, help. And then she goes like, help me.
Hurry up, you wimp.
Hurry up, you wimp. And then he.
Yeah.
So same thing, right? Decides, fuck it. And then also, how far was that drop? Really?
Oh my gosh. That drop looked so far, and he goes through glass into a swimming pool and then just swims right out. Like, that's the most unrealistic thing in this movie for me.
Yeah.
Like, he has one cut on his arm.
And then like one of the Siegfried and Roy guys is just like, are you done yet?
Almost done.
Y'all almost done with whatever it is you are fucking doing?
Like, y'all don't have walkie-talkies. Like, you should be looking for this guy.
Right.
He just wanted to fuck in that pool.
Exactly. And so he manages to get away.
He escapes.
He escapes. And then,
That's his like escape,
yeah,
because
because
they go to
then,
look for him and they cannot find him.
and then that's when we cut to 37 years later, right?
This is one of my favorite parts.
So, which was not going to be originally the ending of this movie, right?
Mhm.
So we go to 37 years later and we are at his funeral, you know,
Mhm.
who's pretty well attended. It looks like you have some like foreign dignitaries and such in the audience. You
Yeah,
gotta,
yeah. Like it looked like like he'd made some good choices because the life starts at 50 situation. I don't know if you noticed. I didn't notice any of the times. I don't think I've actually listened to what he accomplished other than having grandchildren, but they said that he like opened a women's health clinic and like a woman's mental health clinic or something. Like, so he was like tying it back to like all these things that had happened to him before 50. And then what was the other thing that they had said?
he had
So he
like a
talked about the living dead, the living dead in
yeah,
Beverly Hills.
I yeah, he had like a marriage counseling operation,
Marriage counseling was the other one.
and then the Menville Center for the Study of Women, which I'm
Yes.
okay, would we is he
Maybe a
an
different,
expert on that? Like
yeah. So maybe he just funded it.
maybe I thought that was pretty funny. Menville Center for the Study of Women, and then also his like AA chapter, they mentioned that
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
I did love the jolly old man pictures of Bruce Willis. I thought that I was like, oh, he would look like a
I
charming,
know.
handsome old man.
Which is funny because his age now would actually be similar to his age
Yeah, I mean, right? We're
that
32
he would have
years.
died. Let's see. Bruce Willis. How old is he? Why can't they just put his age? He was born in 1955.
So plus
He's 68.
68. Yeah.
So I mean he's getting up there and he does not look that like a warm and fuzzy grandpa approach. Like he still kind of looks badass, like bald headed, just kicking ass still.
Right.
But I love
Um,
they're reading the program of the funeral, the little card that they give you about the person's life, and they're laughing at what
but
it says, whatever it says. They're just still such terrible people. In fact, they've just gotten worse.
yeah, no. It's or yeah, that's like, and then they kept saying like, he'll, you know, we will be young forever in the hearts of his children and grandchildren, and will live forever, and this, and they laugh and they just go blah blah blah
Blah
blah
blah
blah
blah.
blah, and and then take off, and then
Mm-hmm.
you see there's
And that
still,
missing spray paint can
yeah, that missing spray paint can, which I mean, what color was it? Did they only have like, you
is
have
a
to have
flesh
multiple
toned
color?
color
Yeah, it must
because
have been
she
a flesh
wanted to,
tone,
yeah, because she said he's the acrylic number 9. And she's
which
like, no, she's like, I put it in your bag. And she's looking through it, but she dropped it outside on the stairs.
I am not I'm not a makeup artist. So so
No,
please,
it's
grain of
spray
salt.
paint. They're literally just carrying around spray paint at this point. Like their
Well,
faces are totally torn up.
but what I
They're
was gonna
zombies.
say was that like, why spray paint? Spray paint's just acrylic paint, isn't it? Like, why wouldn't you use like acrylic paint with like a sponge kind of applicator situation?
That's
Then
what I would think is and I would assume like,
spray
I
paint's
mean,
a little unwieldy.
on the body, like you could like airbrush it, but on the face, I would think you would need to like sponge it on. But at that point, it's just hopeless. Like they're just doing whatever they can to keep themselves together. Like if you look at how like Goldie Hawn is walking, her
Yeah.
legs are completely like stiff. And then of course, when they fall down the stairs, you see their insides are completely like charcoal because they were formaldehyded up. Like they're just completely rotten on the inside, which is how they actually look, or how
Oh,
they act. They're
love
rotten
it.
on the inside and the
See,
outside now.
and the critics, the assholes say no depth. And look at those
I think
lessons
it has
learned.
so much depth. Maybe
Look at
I've
those
just seen it
layers.
too many times. Maybe I've just seen it too many times and I'm giving the movie makers too much credit. But I love this movie. And yeah,
The
and I think that ending is perfect. I think it's dumb and hilarious. And like, what the hell's going to happen to them next? Like, people are going to study them for science.
did you see what the original ending was supposed to be?
I read what it was supposed to be, but I've never seen any deleted scenes from this movie.
No, I never. No, me neither. So I'm gonna have to
I've
find
only
it.
ever owned it on VHS. I've never owned it on DVD or Blu-ray
Mhm.
or any of that.
There was this.
Maybe soon.
The best I could find on YouTube was this short interview clip with Goldie Hawn talking about being kind of pretty salty about the original ending. Saying that like the original
That
one
she
was
liked
more.
it or didn't.
She did not like the new ending. She liked the original one better,
Oh,
but after test screenings, they didn't think it wasn't like a funny enough, punchy kind
yeah,
of ending. So they went with the more kind of goofier one, which I mean,
yeah.
I think keeps in tone with the whole movie, so I don't mind that at all. But
And I like them having a terrible, who knows what the fuck's going to happen to them type of ending, because
yeah,
that's what they built for themselves. Like,
right.
that's, in my mind, that's what they deserve.
It's like Goldie Hawn was saying like how it's like the original ending was more poignant, and it was just more just like them just
Mhm.
kind of musing on like it was the idea of like they're just bored and they don't know what to do anymore, and they
Yeah.
whatever, which I mean I think is fine, and I think is but I also
I just move to different places in the world and just start a new life, live a couple, like 20 years with like some random person, fall in love, and then leave them brokenhearted and go to the next country.
yeah, I mean what's stopping you from just doing that anyway?
Yeah.
So
No, you know what? Shit. I gotta go.
oh my god. um and then that's our movie. And that's the movie, Death Becomes Her.
Okay.
um
Well, I'd hope that if anyone listened to this, that they've seen this movie, so they've already formed their opinion. But I can't talk this movie up enough. Whenever someone tells me they haven't seen it, I'm like, you absolutely need to watch it. And this is a perfect movie for me. This is a 5 boo movie for me.
Damn, 5 boo movie.
It
I
is,
like
it's a
that.
perfect movie. It's in my top favorite movies of all time.
I love that. We'll add
Yeah.
it to the records.
It's
Make it
it's a
known.
perfect record for me. I can't wait to hear what you thought.
Okay. Well, it's not going to be 5 boos.
I know it won't be 5 boos because you don't have the nostalgia.
It's going to be 6 boos. I'm just kidding. It's not.
You can't do that.
No, I can't do that. I can't make up new rules. I get kicked
There
off the
are
podcast.
rules.
I would give this movie, I don't know, I could find myself just giving everything 4 boos. I'm gonna say it's a great movie. I really liked it. I thought that being my first Meryl Streep movie, I was like, oh wow, she can act. She's good.
It's, yeah.
Who how come no one told me?
She's funny and she can be dramatic. Go figure. There's a
I,
reason why there's so much hype around her.
I also really liked Goldie Hawn. I've seen Goldie Hawn in a couple things, generally like
I love
comedies and
her.
stuff. But yeah, she's
I
fantastic.
love all 3 of these leads. Like,
Yeah.
I think they're all great.
Yeah, dude, Bruce Willis is just always awesome. And Isabella Rossellini just always just being awesome too. I would give this movie I'm gonna say 3.5 boos.
It's pretty good.
It's good. I like this movie a lot. I wonder if this would have changed if I grew up with this movie like you did.
I
Not
guarantee it
saying
would have. I feel like everyone that I know that like grew up watching it, like Joel, even like he was like, oh, I watched it all the time as a kid. I loved it. He's like, I don't know why I didn't watch like horror themed things. And I was like, it's because it was on TV all the
it's like
time.
it's like how like Clue is a 5 boo movie for me.
It
But
was so good.
that's been my favorite movie since I was like 6 or 7. And
We could
I
talk
could
about Clue sometime.
I could see people watching Clue being like, this is not like this is not a perfect movie, even though it is a perfect movie.
There's a lot of people who kind of shit on Clue, and I think if
Shit on
you
them right back.
understand, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I think if you understand camp, like, you understand both of these movies. Like,
Yeah.
Clue is very campy, very over the top. Like, everything about it is, yeah, I feel like if there were classes, or there's some way that you could teach people how to understand that type of humor, like, it would unlock so many different things. Would you recommend this movie to other people?
100% recommended to anybody that would have similar interests as me, because again, I just really love, I do have a lot of nostalgia for early 90s Tales from the Crypt adjacent, kind of horror
Yes.
comedies. I think of like this, I think of like the Tales from the Crypt series. I think of, I know it's a few years later, but The Frighteners, with Michael J. Fox. That's, horror, but it's a comedy, I think first
That's a
and
fun one
foremost.
too. I haven't watched
And
that movie in ages.
I would love to nominate that one down the road. I love that movie. Um, yeah, gosh, the performances were great. I thought the special effects still look really fun. Even like
Yeah, they
you can
held up
tell
for
it's
1992.
right.
Yeah.
And yeah, dang, so I just I think there's some messiness to what the message is of this movie. And I think I get a little bit lost in that. Not that it necessarily matters, because I think is for what the movie lacks in
Well,
maybe
think
some
about,
consistency.
could this movie be made in 2023?
Hell yeah. And that was going to be one of my questions, not to, I think the movie is perfectly cast as it is, especially for 1992. But
Oh, you read that blurb about a remake?
no, I didn't read that at all. Why are they talking about that?
I don't know if it had no date on it at all. So I don't know if somebody just threw that onto IMDb. Like, I don't know how much I trust it, but they had talked about casting Kate Hudson as Helen, which I think is just kind of silly because she's Goldie Hawn's daughter.
Little on the nose. Yeah.
It's a little on the nose. And then Anne Hathaway as Madeline Ashton. And I was like, absolutely not. No, thank you. Hard pass. I am the world's biggest Anne Hathaway hater. I think she's a great actress. Every role she's in, I'm like, she's not the right person for this role.
I
Like, somebody
Googled,
else could have done this better.
I just, did a very extensive Google search. Actresses in their 40s and 50s, and just scrolled down to see what a good pairing would be. And I think,
Ooh,
and
did
I
you come
think
up with some pairings?
I've got a few that I think would be pretty fun.
Oh, lay them on me. I wanna know.
So
I
let's
hope they
see.
don't remake it. Just for the record, I don't want a remake of this movie. And I'm a big fan.
And I don't want to start. Okay, so there's a few people I think that would be pretty fun in this. So let me take a look. Now, if you wanted to go full camp, and just keep like that kind of over kind of comedy thing. I know this is kind of boring because it's another two white women, but Parker Posey and Jennifer Tilly. Jennifer Tilly as Madeline.
Okay.
Parker
I thought you were
Posey
going
as
to go the other
Helen.
way around.
Because
Okay.
I want to see Jennifer Tilly in the big, like, movie star type. She just has that kind of energy, and
I
then
love
also
her
has,
so much.
and just also
She's
has
in
the
her 60s,
meanness.
though,
Dan, she just always looks fucking
But
incredible then.
she could play younger easily.
I think a really on the nose one would be like, I just any combination. You could pair anybody with Courtney Cox. And I would love to see that movie.
That would be fun.
Because I still think Courtney Cox is, well, I mean, she's 59 years old as of this recording.
Yeah,
And
you're going a little high in age for these women to be supposed to be looking like in their 30s.
but dang,
But now you can do I worry that if you picked someone of that age, then they would do the, what do you call it? The de-aging.
Yeah.
Spielberg effect, we'll call it.
Yeah. I was thinking Halle Berry and Jennifer Lopez.
Ooh.
I think
I
that'd
thought
be a
about
fun
Jennifer
one.
Lopez because she's yeah, she's 50. She looks younger.
And she
Halle
could swing,
Berry.
and she's got the arms to swing a
Oh
shovel.
yeah. Oh hell yeah,
So
she does. So does Halle Berry.
that's what I was thinking. I was like, I could see
Yeah.
them in a shovel fight. That'd be pretty fun.
Oh
And you could
yeah, mix
have
it up. Do two women of color instead.
God, I think you could switch them out. Either one could play the other.
Who's Ernest?
Ernest. Dang,
That's a tough one.
it's funny because I never thought Ernest would be in any of these.
I know. That's a really tough one. Who would play Ernest? Okay, now I pose the question to you again. If you would
Sure.
take the potion,
Um,
it
prob
seems like it doesn't de-age that much. Like it feels like it takes you back to your 30s. We'd have to pretend we're like 20 years older.
yeah, so I would have to, yeah. Um, yeah, sure. Why
And
not?
apparently you can't feel pain
Yeah, there
because
you go.
that's
Yeah, I don't know. Like that's fine. I don't care if everybody around me dies. That's okay.
see, I have always said yes, I will take the potion. If I factor in Phil, like being a parent, I would not want to take the potion because that would be brutal to see him age and die and me just be like, all right, well, nice racing you.
That's on you for having a child.
Bye. But no, that's what
that's your
I like.
weakness.
See, I ruined it. I ruined everything. I would have taken that potion in a heartbeat. Vinny and I have actually made a vow at some point that if the potion was ever a real thing, that we would both take it and we
Yeah.
would spray paint each other's asses if needed.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Yeah. Side
Um,
effects and all.
and I'm trying to think if I had any other leftover questions. I don't know. I think looking through my notes, is there anything I forgot? Yeah, I think this is, I'd say a strong 3.5. This was a great movie. I enjoyed it. I'm gonna watch
so
it
glad
again.
you enjoyed it.
I do own it now, and I've watched it, 2.5 times now.
It gets better and better every time you watch it. I feel like you notice something new and different. Also, when you've seen it a million times, I also enjoy all the sets. Like everything is so beautiful and extravagant and like marble walls and just like so 90s. Like it's so good.
Is
The way
there?
that the
I know that you were talking about a remake of this, a potential remake, but have they ever thought like has there ever been like a Broadway situation for this?
yeah, there was.
Okay, because I feel like I was like this would play
And
very well on a
it
stage.
was like 6 or 7 years ago, not that long ago. I don't think it lasted very long,
Hmm.
but
Dang, that's a shame.
I wish I would have saw it.
I'll have to start thinking of other people that would be good in a remake of that, or just have a sequel with Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn.
Oh my gosh, like someone put them back together.
Right, and the thing is,
totally make it work because they're older, so their faces are just like
it's all makeup.
they're
They said they'd look all
zombies, yeah.
rotting and stuff anyway, right?
Oh
I would
my
love to see
gosh,
that.
how fun.
So there we
Yeah, that'd be
go.
pretty fun.
Well, will it? Gosh, anything else we want to say on Death Becomes Her?
No, I think it's a perfect movie from beginning to end. No complaints. Love the acting, love everything about it. I think the message of the movie is easy to interpret in the wrong way. And
Mhm.
I view it as like very heavy satire, and I attribute it to some of my vanity because I thought these two women were so glamorous. But I also, watching it now as an adult, you see how flawed it is that that's all they care about. Like that's what they value so greatly. Like I just think it's a good movie to watch young and then to watch revisit again as an adult because you view it in a much different light
Yeah,
than you did the first couple times around. So
it's pretty wild how much hasn't changed in the 30 years since this came out, as far as I think just kind of cultural attitudes towards women, how they age.
yeah, because now it's not, you can't act anymore if you're in your 50s. Now it's like, how young can you look in your 50s? Like, how much can you throw people off and like
Mhm.
of the age game? Like, it's this it's a different version of toxic. Like
Yeah.
we took it from like your career is done to no, you can keep your career if you decide to, get facelifts and Botox and filter your face on Instagram so people don't actually know what the texture of your skin looks like. Like it's quite wild. But yeah, it's a good movie. I'm glad that you watched it, and I'm glad we got to talk about it. Now we have to find one that you love that I've never seen.
I know. Yeah, I'll start thinking on that one. But
Yeah.
gosh, well, always love talking with you. That's a wrap on Death Becomes Her. And thanks y'all for joining us and listening to us. And we'll see you next time. 3, 2, 1, Ghost.
Bye.
And that was our episode on Death Becomes Her. If you enjoyed listening to our educated, data and research-driven analysis, be sure to stay in the loop regarding all things 321 Ghost by following us at 321 Ghost Pod on Instagram, as well as at 321 Ghost Pod on Twitter. If you'd prefer to reach out via email to share your thoughts, critiques, or extend an invitation to hang out and watch Devil Wears Prada, you can do that by emailing 321ghostpod@gmail.com. If you're listening to us on a streaming platform or any other platform that allows you to leave a review, we'd certainly appreciate it if you did. Like I said, we're a data-driven outlet here, and reliable, community-based participatory research starts with you. Unless you give us less than 5 stars, of course. All music written and performed by yours truly. And gosh, that's all I got. Thanks for listening, and see you next time on 3, 2, 1, Ghost.